Welcome. This is the Emma the Impact podcast where myself and a guest watch a movie neither of us have seen. And today we're talking about Shiver of the Vampires.
Believe it or not, Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
Why will elaborate on that?
No.
And I make films because I have not learned anything else.
Today, my guest who picked this movie is.
I am Mark Mallman most of the time.
Why did you pick Shiver of the Vampires as our film today?
You gave me a list of movies that neither of us have seen, so I went through that, and
People
2 years
like
ago,
the list.
I pulled from the list, and you have exquisite film taste. Of my friends, you're like in the top levels. You're great.
Tell me more. I always love
Small
flattery.
details. You're so good at movies, and your
Thank you.
encyclopedic knowledge is unmatched, especially in camp, right? Or B horror or grindhouse, as I like to say.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
so this list was great. 2 years ago, 2023, my New Year's resolution was to only watch monster movies.
That's so
And
cool.
I stuck with it, and I just realized I don't need to see any other movies anymore ever again unless there's a monster in it.
Is that true? You just watch monster movies? Primarily?
A ghost counts.
Oh, ghost counts. Okay. So
A
what are
ghost
your top
counts.
monster movies then?
What do you mean?
What are your top monster movies that are
I would
full monster?
Okay, here's how it works. So within the rules of my thing, it basically just means anything with a cryptid or paranormal entity in it, anything paranormal. The blanket term is monster movies. People like you and me that are just addicted to grindhouse and B horror, then I would say, this sounds crazy.
There's
But
nothing like the folly of something very sincere yet silly.
we could talk for the rest of our lives about the quote unquote best monster movie. Start with Giant Claw. Love Giant Claw. Robot Monster. I think Robot Monster is awesome.
Humans.
Yeah,
I love Robot Monster. You're a Mystery Science Theater. You're a fan, right?
Yes, I actually know Mystery Science Theater, but some people from it because it was shot here in Minnesota.
I know the KTMA year. Yeah, I'm a Misty. Okay, full MSTIE.
I don't like commentary. I like to add my own. I can't think right now off the top of my head for a quote unquote monster that would fit straight up monster from the 70s because I think 70s King Kong is a miss. But I would say like Cue the Winged Serpent in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
In the 2010s, did Sweetheart come out in the 2010s?
I think so.
Sweetheart. But honestly, this sounds so crazy, but I think the best monster movie is Godzilla -1. I just
It's
can't
so
think of a
great.
better monster movie.
I've done 2 episodes with different guests that picked kaiju movies, but they didn't pick that one. But they couldn't because I've seen it. Misses the point.
I tell people like Godzilla -1 is basically Titanic, only there's Godzilla instead of the ship because it's this war-torn romance that really is about the human experience. The monster is a metaphor, not unlike The Host, where you have a kaiju is a metaphor for the government. It just blows my mind. It's weird for me to pick such a new movie to say that's the best monster movie.
You picked Shiver of the Vampires because it's a monster. Do I not have enough monster movies on my list, Mark? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I would say that under my ruling for only monster movies only. Look, if I watched only quote unquote monster movies, I couldn't do it because monster movies are usually stupid. When I say monster movies, I mean anything paranormal.
Supernatural, cryptic, paranormal,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
ghosts and vampires.
I don't say horror because Friday the 13th would fit into that, or Slumber Party Massacre would fit into that. And that's like slasher. So I don't watch that anymore.
Let's buzz. Oh my god. I love the second one so much. I have the poster.
It's astounding. The musical, it's astounding.
Baby, do you like my sound? He's so great in that role. I love it.
He's not even scary. Like the concept exceeds the horror in that. It's like a Gremlins 2 level weird ass moment.
It's great. And the breakdancing is great.
Yeah, I love it.
See, I'm low class and a New Englander, so I wanna say Jean Rollin. It's
Yeah,
Jean like,
Jean
I
Rollin.
the way I remember it is Jean-Luc Picard, our favorite,
Yeah, or
French
Jean-Luc Godard.
go to yes, yes,
Mhm.
I took it into
Or
Star
Jean
Trek,
Renoir, another film person, Jean Renoir.
or you could think of my favorite Star Trek captain, I'm sorry.
Yeah, your favorite? I'm gonna have to stop this podcast right now if Next
Alright,
Gen is your
woo!
favorite. We can't get in this fight.
Oh, just by a smidge. I love all the captains, even Archer.
Okay.
I have that's not Archer though, that's him in Lord of Illusions, looking confused. There's a lot of actually
Oh,
sexy picture of
yeah.
of Scott Bakula that you can get, but I'm like, "Nah, Lord of Illusions one that's pixelated, give me
That's
that one."
yeah.
It's more me.
I had seen Nude Vampire, and I have always put off this film. And my favorite genre is exploitation horror from 65 to 76 because I have to include Satan Slave in there. I always pass this one up, so I was like, okay, cool, let's do this one.
Okay. Okay. I think my favorite Jean Rollins films are I haven't seen Fascination, which I gotta fix for sure, but The Living Dead Girl and Lips of the Vampire so far. And this one, wow, there's a lot of explanations for the tone of this film, and I've got them all lined up to talk about. 'Kay,
Okay.
but first let's establish what do you expect from a Jean Rollin film? One thing I can say I don't expect is like a three-act plot or even Kubrick's 6 to 8 points of a scene. It's not gonna be that. And then it's mostly visual. But what are things that you associate? Okay, I'm watching a Jean Rollin film. What do I expect from this going in? What's the
I
first one you
okay, this
watch?
I'm not an expert in Jean Rollin because this is only the second one I've seen.
Mm.
It's very it's impressionist actually, even though impressionism goes beyond the French. Like you said, this movie you got to go into it with a vibe, even like you would to a late Argento film, or even a God forbid I mentioned this a late period Russ Meyer movie, where you're going to go in and you're going to be like, okay, the plot, the dialogue, it really pulls from this movie because the cinematography, the vibe, man, the
It's great, and this is before
yeah,
Suspiria. He talked about using a projector for all the very colorful scenes in this film, which he starts with in black and white intentionally because he wanted it to look like an older horror film. The main characters, basically, it's this married couple, and they're going to go visit her cousins after their wedding. Okay, not my move, but that's fine. People do things differently. She's in
France,
her wedding dress, yeah. So there's the couple, and then the cousins are former vampire hunters that are turned into vampires. We don't know this yet. We don't know this yet. They're a big part of the tone of this movie. There is a main seductress vampire that is also going on in the scene. They're like the main heads of the castle. We have Monique Natan as an aside character that doesn't need to be there at all, but we'll get to that. The blonde,
yeah,
death by nipple blonde.
yeah.
So she's not a character that really involves any part of the other stories.
No, it's
And
almost like it was shot independently.
yeah, then there's they're like sprites to me. They're vampires. They're like the maids. They're supposed to be the servants of the castle. And that's
Yeah,
very common for Ron also is coupling. Sometimes it's literally twins. We have the Castell twins in this film. The blonde maid, as he calls, I'm gonna call them pixies because they're pixie.
yeah,
It was unintentional. It has a 12th Night, Midsummer's Dream kind of comedy to it. It wasn't meant to be a comedic film, but I read this 100% as a comedic film, and I'm not making fun of it. We don't really have a protagonist, really, because we focus on both the couples, the characters. We feel like we're watching. We don't feel like we're experiencing it through anybody specific.
no, I feel like we're experiencing it through Jean Rollin's exploitative nudity lens.
And also his lens of cinema first. When he talks about scenes in his films, he talks like, "Oh, I was inspired by this one great painting, so I had to recreate it. This is how I did it with the cameras." That's what he
Yeah,
talks about first. Nobody in this movie, they're ancillary to acting. The husband is also the second director. I mean,
Ah,
nobody's actually an actor, really, not for
yeah, you
real.
can tell.
You could tell. I think the best acting was the vampiress, the
She's great.
ancient
I
one.
mean,
She's
she's
great.
good.
So they come to this castle and things go awry because she's that's one of the
Because vampire.
motifs and themes. If you want to put motifs and themes to anything, it's the idea of being stuck to ritual and family, but it's also diverging from the conventional marriage and going into something you could
Yeah,
say
it's not
evil,
this
sensual,
movie.
and autonomous.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's not pro-marriage. It's free
Or
love.
convention, more so, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to take the motifs in the script. It's hard to take the script seriously in this movie at all because there's so
Well,
much
because there
drill.
was no script for most of it, so that's
Yeah, well,
why.
it's hard to take the plot or the point of this or the narrative then. If there was no script, there is a narrative, whether or not it existed before the
Oh,
film,
for
it
sure.
exists now. And it's hard to take the narrative seriously. Once you let go of that, I think you can enjoy the movie a little more.
When I watched it the second time, I had a lot more fun. I had a
Yeah.
lot more fun because the reason I view it from a comedic lens is the only characters that are really acting as comedians are the two cousins. So they're her much older cousins,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're dressed very flamboyantly. Jean Rollin is saying it was the beginning of the hippie movement. I'm like, in 1971, maybe in
Yeah, it's
France.
the end of the hippie movement.
Yeah, he wasn't clued in, okay? They don't look like hippies to me. It looks of the era, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
But I like
yeah.
what they wear.
Yeah, they
I would
don't look like vampires. They look like just partiers, like swingers or something. I love that they
they have
portray
that
the
swingers
situation.
vibe. I love the jackets, the guy with the long hair, and then they were really just so much jewelry on all of them. So once we've arrived at the castle, the rest of the movie is just visuals and vibes. He said you could say it's a love story between this older vampiress and the bride, but
Yeah,
or look. So the cousins, once they enter the movie, they add the actors, they improvised their lines. They didn't memorize them at all. And John Rollins, "Well, let's go with it." Even in his commentary, yeah, they're trying to one up each other as
yeah.
actors in this scene. So this scene
Oh,
went a
you can
little
see it.
long.
Hundred.
Even he says this scene went a little long. And there's a
Oh my
scene
god.
where
Yeah.
there's this
The
because they're
moment he
so
starts stroking
goofy.
his pipe, he's stroking his pipe, and you realize, like, why is this actor pulling away from the main monologue here? They're competing. You can see it the whole time.
Once they enter the film, isn't it quite a 180 for you?
I love how they look, and I hate what they say. As a fan, as a person not critically thinking of the movie, just watching the movie, I love how they look. I think they should have gone the Christopher Lee route and just said less.
I do appreciate them trying to do something different, though. Even if it was the beginning of the hippie movement, they're older gentlemen. They're, I
Mhm.
don't know, 50s. It doesn't, they're not elderly, but they're not young kind of age. And I do love the other cousin. He's got a comb over, but you know
Yeah,
what? It's a comb over in a way, like you have to put effort into that. It's
it's
not
cool.
like just, it's done like cool. Like it looks cool. And I applaud that. He actually puts preparation into his hair, and I like that.
At some point, Isolde, I think, it says that she was both of their lovers. Is that correct? At the end of the movie,
Yes,
and it's
Monique
believable.
Natan's character, yeah.
It's believable because they're older, but they are sexy. They're sexy.
I like a goofy guy. They're goofy,
Yeah,
that's the thing, that
it's
they're
goofy.
goofy and silly. When you watch this film the first time, I'm paying attention to what they're saying because it sounds like they're saying something important about the lore of the vampires, but they're not. It's just these
No,
guys improvising. And there's this one
it's
scene
terrible.
as we go around this
Yeah.
wheel, the cousins are following us together and they're like lunching together and they're like, "Ah,
Oh,
oh," like it is that silly. It is that silly. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe I blocked that out from the trauma of the acting. I'm not sure.
When you first watch this movie, it's frustrating. You think what they're saying is important. And then I learned that it's all improvised. I'm like, oh, okay. Then it means nothing. It doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah,
It's there's so when you watch this film, there's a lot of beautiful visuals. I love in the beginning when she just arrives at the castle and she's going to go visit her cousin's graves, and she's just this kind of a wraith or ghost in her wedding dress and full veil in the
yeah. Oh,
cemetery.
when she's descending the stairs, it's
Yes,
gorgeous.
when she's walking around in the cemetery and she meets Monique Natan's character, who's not in this film like a lot. She's in the very beginning. There's a lot of stories about her actually because it's her production company that made this movie.
She co-wrote this.
Oh, she did. Yeah,
She's
because
credited as co-writing. Yeah.
yeah, because he came. A lot of directors came to her because her husband was very wealthy and had passed away. She decided to start this production company, but she knew theater more than she knew film. And this was the first movie from that production company. She runs into the bride and she's in full black veil, black dress. They're talking together and she says, "I've been widowed twice," which we don't really know. I would usually think that in traditional sense, not that you were having sex with this two different men at the same time, which is fine. That's not a judgment. If
Yeah.
she could have loved them both, that's great. I think that's great. It's a beautiful visual of the white and the with black.
The shots are amazing. The color is great. That's what pulls you through.
Now when I watched it the second time, I think of the husband, even though he's like hardly in it in a way and not important really to the story, except for representing maybe traditional marriage. And he's cute, by the way.
He's really attractive and
But
weak, very weak. His character is very meek, and
very meek.
it's I would say
He's
maybe like,
pouty too. That's not the
yeah,
same.
he might symbolize like a sort of a counterculture view of mainstream ethics.
He's not an actor also. But he did try. I admire him for the scene where the books were attacking
I
him.
love that scene. I love
Oh,
that
it's so fucking funny.
book attack.
The book is like coming near his hip and he has to act like he's in real trouble. It's funny because
It's a
Rollin
creative
really
idea.
loved that scene. This movie wasn't intended to be a comedy, but there's a lot of really funny moments in it. What Jean Rollin said about it when he was with an audience watching this film, every scene he pointed out that usually gets a laugh. You know what? They are laughing. I can't do a French accent. I don't know what I'm doing. They are laughing, but when they are laughing, they applaud. What a lot of people love about John Rollin is that he's a mix of just be exploitation, plot, question mark, whatever, and also high art when it comes to the visuals that he does. I think he's a lot like Mario Bava. Although Mario Bava, his father was a cinematographer, and he has more of a gift when it comes to the cinema
Yeah,
first.
no, yeah.
He has
I would
less
say
of a visual language,
I
but
don't know this director a lot, but I could see him being like Stephanie Rothman a little bit, making these secretly artistic. Only she's a feminist. This film is not really,
no.
but
I've seen people try to spin it that way because we have the head vampirist and she's the one that's in charge, and where these men are incapable. That's a stretch. Me saying that the motif about marriage and such that's me doing that. This movie isn't really saying anything too hard. You know what I
no,
mean?
the voice is very patriarchal. The voice of the film is not. I
A
mean,
lot of naked women, which I don't have a problem with.
no, it's fun.
But it's fun. It's what you expect. It's okay if people aren't comfortable or don't like that. I respect that, but I love it. There's this one scene in the movie which some folks might think you're not really talking about the plot. I'm like, because there is none. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. That's what you have to do. You just take it in. Where the bride is she's straddling herself against the grandfather clock and the camera goes from head, she's naked of course, fine, head to toe. Do we need that? Yeah. You know what? Yeah, for this I did need that. I did. Not humping, just
No, she's
against
just.
it.
It's painterly. It's painterly. It's like he's doing a portrait. It's artful. It's an exploitation film, and he's bringing art to something that there's not a lot of art in, and that's nice.
I love the main theme of this, which I think there's only really one. I know this band only formed to do the music for this. They weren't a real band that did other stuff like Goblin
Yeah.
or even Libra, which did the Bava's Shock and some other things of his, that kind of Italian horror. What did you think of the music in this?
Okay, so I did a little more research on these guys, and they did actually put out two singles under a different
Really?
name.
What was the
And
name?
they put it under the name, I have it in my notes here somewhere, Unity. They put out two singles in 1970, so I imagine around the same time the production was happening in this movie.
Mhm.
I think that what else is cool is this is like 4 years before Goblin started working with Argento.
Mhm.
But I felt like maybe it was in an Antonioni, Zabriskie point. It's like I loved again, I think it really reflects what this film embodies, which is all style, no substance in terms of narrative and plot. In terms of visuals, there's a lot of substance there. And I think the music reflects that. You can tell as a musician, you can tell that the drummer in this band is, I'm not going to say bad, it's just starting
I
out.
can't tell. I can't I just started
Yeah.
playing guitar in 2020, so I
But
know guitar a little, you know.
yeah, but the vibe, the musicianship, whatever, it's psychedelic music. It doesn't have to be great. Sometimes if it's great, it's not good. It really made this movie super vibey. Like
I
it,
knew the main theme already because I have a long list. I call it my Night Road playlist where it's mostly film. A lot of it's film themes, not all of it. Some of it's John Carpenter's Lost themes. They're not from his films. I love those albums, by the way. I don't know if you're a fan
oh,
or
I
not.
haven't heard him.
Oh, they're good. Oh,
I bet they're
yeah.
good. I love his rock stuff.
When his son plays guitar, he's a really great composer. And it's a shame because Carpenter, his most famous piece of music is always going to be the theme from Halloween.
Yeah,
And
which is great.
which is great, but he does admit I did just rip off Tubular Bells, which is the theme from The Exorcist, which was a song on its own and then
It's
became associated.
it's not as orchestral or complicated as Tubular Bells, but it's better. I ripped off the Halloween theme for a song of mine called
That's
Knockout
great.
on 22nd Street that ended up being the theme to the Bank of New York Mellon for 5 years.
Really.
Yeah, I took the Halloween key and then switched it into a major key. But I think that Acanthus is the name of the band. I think it's rad. I think it really really makes this movie super vibey.
It fits so well.
Yeah, it
This is
does.
exactly the kind of music I wanted for this.
Oh, yeah.
When I see it as a comedy, I see it as the husband. He's just this regular, kind of boring guy. He's good looking, but boring. I don't think they gave him much to work with, but let's just say that he's boring. Okay, we're going to the cousins after our wedding. We're supposed to have our special wedding night because they have not consummated
Yeah, they never
their.
do.
They never do. So maybe I'd be pouty too, but I don't know. But sorry, I just enjoy this so much. So I see it as like he comes upon this like caper of slapstick, goofy older cousin vampires, and his wife succumbing to the seduction of the vampire, I guess, instead of the shiver of the vampire. When it comes to the lead vampire and also her cousins, you
Yeah, but
much
in the
older cousins.
vampire world, that's okay. It's okay.
It's okay, the cousins thing.
I'm
I
saying in the
know you're
canon,
I know. But, I mean, it's not even made a big deal in this movie. "Oh my god, she's kissing her it's just a thing that happens. It's
it's
just
very
a thing.
French.
Very Oh, that makes me think of George Michael from Arrested Development.
Oh,
Les Cousins.
I think that it's necessary for this husband character when you have a film where you have these kind of vague protagonists, vague antagonists that kind of switch places throughout the whole movie. You got to have someone to dislike. In Velvet Vampire and Stephanie Rothman's what I think is just a fantastic movie.
I love your song, Velvet
Thank you.
Vampire. It's
Yeah,
one of my
that's how much I
favorites.
love her movie. Is
How would you
that
compare
character?
these 2 films
What'd you say?
as vampire films? How would you compare these 2 films as vampire films?
I
Very
think they're
visual.
very similar. They're both psychedelic. They both put art house forward, but they're both funded by exploitation producers. And but I think the main difference is that you have something coming from a feminist perspective, and that is a much more depth. She intentionally betrays stereotypes with her
She's a rock
vampire.
and roller. She's the real deal.
Yeah, and he's just they're both great midnight movies, but I think they're similar. I do think they're similar, not in their ethic, but in their surreal nature.
The film that I think of the most when it comes to comparing and contrasting with Velvet Vampire, which anybody like, please go see that movie, is of Daughters of Darkness because it's the three-way kind of thing going on. This one is just the husband is just not clued in on anything. and he's attacked by
Mhm.
books, and it's
I
hilarious.
love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I freaking love it because it looks stupid, and it's funny 'cause, Jean Rollin that's the producers wanted that out, but I was very proud of that.
oh, no, it's great.
It is great, it's funny if you wanna keep it funny because it's just ridiculous. The books don't really look like they're even touching him that much. It doesn't look like he's in any danger, and that guy is trying to act his ass off that he's terrified, but
I'd love to make an edit of surreal book scenes because I can think of some off the top of my head. I can think of the symmetrical book stacking in Ghostbusters, and
oh,
um,
yeah.
there's so many. It seems really creative, like a guy getting attacked by books. I'd love to find other movies that have this
Oh,
killer
I'm
book.
sure there are. I'd have to
Mhm.
think about it. I probably
Evil Dead is a killer book, but it doesn't viciously attack.
A Farewell to Arms
Okay.
is the book in Evil Dead 2, which is funny because he lost his hand. Farewell to Arms. So perfect. That's the kind of humor I really love.
Interstellar has a book scene similar to this book attack scene in that
I don't
there
remember
he's
it. I've seen it, but I don't
oh,
remember a
okay,
lot of
yeah,
it.
there's you're immersed in this on four sides by books, but the books are like a metaphor for infinity and time is a flat circle. And this
Oh, yeah,
book
True Detective 2, yeah.
in this
It's the
movie as well.
McConaughey way.
Yeah,
McConaughey way, Marky.
yeah. Yes, I think that is kind of a little bit like Hammer's Vampire Lovers.
Also very much Jess Franco, which I
Mm,
haven't seen a ton of his films, but they're usually sometimes I confuse a Jean Rollin film with Franco's just because of the a lot of nudity, artful but very exploitative at the
mhm.
same time, and very stylistic, and vampires, many vampires.
That's what I'm here for, really.
Even though I knew Jean Rollin enough to like, it's a vibe. This is gonna be a vibe.
So
But I'm
vibey.
still trying to pay attention to what the cousins are saying because I think something important is gonna be said there, and it's not.
No, and
So
that's
I
like a
see the
Thomas
husband
Pynchon.
is like going through he meets these slapstick, goofy older vampires, and then he tries to save his wife, and then she's drinking the dove scene. Because Jean Rollin is just thinking, I want this visual. It was inspired by a painting and a painter he was into at the time. I have not seen the painting. He's just taking inspiration from something else that he really wants to recreate in the best way. It's not about what does
Yeah,
this mean? I really want this beautiful woman and the dove. No doves were hurt during the filming of this film.
I
He
thought
just
for sure it was.
he could be
That's
lying.
great.
He could be lying.
No,
But
I doubt it.
no, but he went into details. They had a veterinarian come. They bought a dove, and the veterinarian just put the dove out. It's not dead, it's just asleep. They have to be very careful with it because
I
the
love
neck
that.
is so fragile. I know.
You immediately assume, "Oh, they killed that dove."
No, well, in that era, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. He said the bird was fine. When the husband eventually just throws the bird, he's like, "There's 10 people with like, ready to catch that bird behind the scenes," and I love that. I hope that's a true story. I'll take
I
it
hope
as
it is
truth.
too. I think where he lets the viewer down is by not respecting us enough just to explain the dove. And I know they're improvising, they're out there, they're making a movie, which is hard enough to do. But it would
This
have
is his
been great
3rd
if
film
we
too,
knew
so
why is he shooting a gun into the woods. I think it's because he thinks somebody is there. It would have been great to get a cue from him saying,
yeah, him being the husband,
"What's
like, he's
yeah,
just
like what's
terrified
in
at
the
this
woods?
point.
Is that a person, a vampire?" And then he shoots it, and oh, it's only this. And we're left to fill in the blanks on that. But I love that
He
it
just wanted the visual, that beautiful
yeah,
woman and the blood when they put the dove on the coffin, the blood is obviously spilled separately.
wax. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
it's so great, I love it.
Oh, I love it. It's bad, but that's why I watch these movies.
It's a surprise. These kind of movies have a lot of surprises, but
Yeah.
they're done in earnest, even though I know Jean Rollin has spoken about this scene and said he's just talking about the visuals, and he's talking about the camera, and he's talking about the painting that inspires it, this beautiful woman with the dove and the coffin and all that, and which I know I feel like that's another last minute thing. I don't know if it was, but when she's talking to her vampire lover during the day through the coffin, I don't need this. This is silly. This is silly, okay? I
Yeah, yeah. It would have been great if maybe they would have had a screenplay, just a little bit, or a treatment, or some kind of plot for us as audience members to not feel betrayed. Because sometimes you can't just watch something beautiful for 2 hours.
an hour and a half. You're like, "It felt longer, okay?
I
Shut up."
loved it, but I wouldn't watch it again.
Oh, I did watch it again, and I
You
enjoyed it a
did?
lot more because I knew even though I went into a Jean Rollin film, that's the thing about this film. You go in and let's say Jean Rollin, but you haven't seen this particular movie. You're not expecting there to be, again, a very intricate or put together plot, but at the same time, there's all these words that come at you and they're silly from the two cousins mostly.
Yeah,
And you're trying to like, is there something important here? And then I found out it was all improvised. I'm like, fuck, okay.
yeah,
I was stretching there. The husband goes through these like folly, like for him in every scene where he's in it, it's a horror movie. He like
yeah,
I would be terrified of those goofy cousins in his position, and he's confused, and all this stuff is happening. Then at the end, I gotta say I can't relate. Where you never consummate your marriage, you're on a at a beach, losing your mind. Your wife goes to her cousins instead of coming to you, which she's doomed anyway. She's already a vampire. And her cousins do a makeout session where she's completely nude, and which is common for her in this movie. Then they blip into oblivion. It was very comedic to me. Done, boom,
yeah,
like that's the end of the movie where they just zap. It even makes a noise like zoop out of existence when he could have easily okay had his camera on the three of them, then maybe cut to a wave because the ocean is very symbolic for Rollin usually.
yeah.
And this is a beach that's been in a lot of his movies. And he said it's meant something different each time, this beach.
Okay.
And also, it's the duality of the idea that death isn't an ending, that it's a beginning of something like cooler.
Yeah, which is weird for vampires because they're not gonna die for a long time. What would you think when Blake Snyder's Save the Cat method, he says, like, on page 5, you wanna say the message of your film? Obviously, this is predates Blake Snyder, it predates any film screenwriting criticism, but what do you think the message of this movie is?
I really believe the genre mostly was focused on just making beautiful, cool images. He could have said, okay, these guys are competing for each other. They're not doing any of the lines. Let's find some people that will. He could have made that choice,
That's
but he
true.
didn't. It's
Yeah,
true. It's a low budget film, but he decided to keep it. I think he was just going along with the vibes of filming. I think he was going
yeah.
along with the vibes of making the visuals he wanted in this particular film, and unfortunately, the very comedic cousins don't really match the rest of the film that is being treated seriously when it comes to the main vampirist.
Oh. Are you when you were bringing up Shakespeare, I see now, you're seeing the comedic
Like the
cousins as,
sprites.
like,
Yeah,
Guildenstern.
yeah. Yeah, like, I see
Yeah,
them as and I see the women that are the maids that are also vampires as, like, sprites or some kind of even though they're vampires, we know that, but
yeah.
the idea they're impish a little bit. They're the ones that have the demise of the main vampire,
Yeah,
probably
they're the
because they were recently
troublemakers.
turned.
Yeah,
They're the troublemakers, but they're
gremlins. Yeah,
trouble in a fun way. I wanna hang out with those 2. They're fun, and not
they are
because they
fun.
made out with each other naked. That's not why. It's not a bad it doesn't hurt the situation, but they seem like they're having fun all the time, even when they have to be a little subservient and have blood for when the masters, the cousins wake up, that kind of thing. But which is confusing because their blood, their vampire blood, right? She cuts her arm and that goes into the goblet for the cousins when they wake up. But then at the end, the vampiress that's stuck, instead of choosing to die because of the sun, she drinks her own blood to die. I guess it has to be your own blood. Not it, but again, when it gets to that point, you're thinking too much about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
think about it. It doesn't matter. So I do want to talk about the death by nipple.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So Monique Tan, she's, like I said, co-writer. She's the producer. This is her production company. Ron says she was snobbish. That's his point of view. Frenchman in 1971. I don't know because she was more into theater than movies, but she was all in for this role. And it's just a slight moment. Do you remember they just dip her into the lake when she dies?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, because it's not an important seem like an important scene. She is a human woman that used to make love and have a relationship with both cousins when they were humans and
Yeah.
vampire hunters,
She
apparently.
says,
Not
"I
that
was
it
married to both of them once."
Yes, she's very connected and tied to them, and for some reason unknown, don't think about it, they don't make her a vampire too. They're done with her or whatever, I don't know. The head vampiress, who's in her cloak, we've seen her naked recently with just some chains on, looking good. She was a
Oh,
vaudevillian actor.
she's got character. Her face makes you think she has a past. She feels like she's eternal.
And she's one of the only ones that's really treating the vampire thing seriously. She's the one that really does the dramatic thing with the cape,
And the clock
does
coming
this,
out of the
and the
clock.
clock. She's really good at it. I think she's the best actor in this film, to me.
She's the coolest character for sure.
Her and Marie Castel, who's the blonde sprite, as they call them, the maids, he calls them. She's in a couple of his films with her sister, who is her twin. They're usually, you think of blonde twins because that's a visual that shows up from mostly Lips of the Vampire and
Yeah.
the Nude Vampire. These two blonde twins. When I saw clips about Lips of the Vampire, I thought it was going to be mostly about them. They're just ancillary to everything. Like in this film. The death by nipples. Okay, that's right. Death by nipple. So the main vampiress, she moves her cloak and she has these two, it's not very long, like 2 inches at the most, metal things around her nipples. And she just collides with this woman, the Monique Natel, the
Yeah.
producer co-writer.
Oh,
And
cool.
then she immediately falls to the ground, Monique, and she's got like this fakest wax blood on her, just her nipples. And a friend of mine who's seen this movie said, no, maybe they pierced the lungs. I'm like, no, that was death by nipple. I'm sorry. Maybe
That was cool.
don't think about it. It was cool and it was funny because I'm like, I rewinded it. Did I just see a death by nipple?
The shot
Like,
is cool where the vampire has her arms open and she's wearing this Madonna-esque, this weird, it's a creative, the way she jumps out of the clock, the way the books attack. There are
she's
like
the
these
best actor.
creative moments that just need a narrative to string them together. But other
The
than that,
cousins get in the way.
the cousins get in the way. The nymphs are so like mischievous and fun. It should just be the nymphs, the vampire. The cousins could be murdered
Oh
really.
yeah, and then the movie wouldn't feel so long as well.
Yeah,
They're really not important,
they're
really.
cool, but
They're cool, but they don't fit in the rest of the narrative.
no, we could
So
just have more scenes where the husband's being chased or something.
He feels very Scooby-Doo to me. That's how I see this movie, even though it's not curated to be anything really. But I curate it myself to be like a big joke on the husband. Not that he deserves it, but again, that's a very big trope, whether it's a horror movie or a comedy. And Hitchcock's famous for this, of the average guy that just runs into the craziest shit. The
Yeah,
craziest shit. Like, I'm just a normal person. Oh my god, now I'm all of a sudden in North by Northwest. What? I'm
yeah,
Cary Grant. So
yeah, yeah. I do.
so
I think the voice, the perspective that we're watching this when we're in the castle, is we are seeing it from the vampire's POV. I mean, not literally.
the camera's like on the floor for a lot of these shots. It's very
Yeah,
low.
but I'm never rooting for him. I'm rooting for Cary Grant. I'm never rooting for this husband. I'm just
No,
like,
no.
just get a
But I'm
clue.
not rooting for the other side either. I guess the main vampire she seems cool. Why not? But we
He's
don't really
cool.
get to yeah, she's cool.
Mhm.
But you don't really root for anybody in this movie. You're just like
Uh, I'm rooting for the lighting.
that's was the main point for this.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Monique Natano, so the moment when I mentioned that she was dipped in the lake, her character. So this was quite the shoot. The river she's put into, they brought a doctor on set and they told her there's all these animal carcasses in it.
Oh,
And even one of the grip guys, like, I piss in that river every morning. Like,
gross.
and she knew this. And she knew this, and it was like, it's disgusting and unsanitary. And she did it anyway. The first time they did it, which she thought was a practical joke, which I agree with her a little bit, because you can't do one shot where somebody's gonna wearing a wig and all that costuming is gonna get gross. You only get one shot, but they
Yeah.
wanted to practice it. He pretended the camera was rolling, but it wasn't the first time it happened, and then she did it again. And he's like, "She's such a professional. I can get gross. I have fun, but I'm not going in where they have to bring a doctor on scene to to make sure things are okay because there's so many carcasses and disgusting and sludge.
Yeah.
That's a little much for even me. I'm not, but I would have said that at first. It's hard to say no when everyone's worked so hard to get everything together. But I would have said
Yeah.
no. But yeah, I'd say no immediately. Okay,
I'm
that's a little too much. Can't we film it a different way? Or can't I be disposed of a different way? Is it that important? Because it's not an important scene in the movie. She really became a fan with the cast, though. They really took her, which you don't have to go in sludge to be liked. Don't be unliked. It's okay. Be the one that people think is a snob. I don't care if you think I'm a snob. I'm not going in dead
I
animal
think
carcass sludge. I'm
you kind
sorry.
of
I guess I'm a snob.
you touch on a really good point that I think we forget. I was having lunch with a director in town here who does TV stuff, and he does low budget, made for TV biopics of crimes. I scored a number of things and said to him, maybe we should stop using the term bad movie because just out of respect for the difficulty it is to make these things. And as
It's
fans,
hard
we get really critical. I might say as a fan, this movie was bad, this movie was terrible, but really, it's so hard to make
to make a
anything.
movie. To finish a movie is it
To finish a movie,
incredibly
even
hard.
and make with it being bad, is deserves more respect than we give it as fans.
I think we originally met through TikTok. I think
Yeah,
years ago now. Isn't that crazy?
yeah, 5 years
Oh my god.
ago.
Yeah, I never put a lot of effort in my TikToks. I do what I do because I want to. Some people really do put in the effort, like you. You really put in a lot of effort. For 30 to 60 seconds, you put
Yeah,
in the editing.
I was a news editor for 10 years, so editing is something I just adore editing.
But that takes you at least an hour to get
It
one
takes
30 to 60. That's a lot. That's
5. It
more
takes
work than
5
people think.
hours. Takes me
Yeah,
5.
to make a film is so hard. That's why I love SOV films. They made a film and it's finished. That
Yeah.
is hard. That sounds like this movie's really bad. Hey, they made a movie and they finished making it.
Yeah, I think we're
But no,
spoiled in that way. As consumers of media, we're spoiled in, like, how difficult it is.
no,
Yeah.
I mostly do photography. That's where I'm comfortable, especially, and I'm not good at editing video. I'm working on it.
Yeah. When I started editing for money, when I started editing in 1997, I started editing for the CBS News affiliate here. And I would tell people I'm an editor. They didn't know what an edit was. People would say, "What's an edit? You edit the copy?" And I would say, "No, I edit the pictures." And they would say, "What do you mean?" And I would say, and then it would screw me up because I'm like, edit isn't really anything. An edit is the non existent space of time between two pictures. And but now it just everyone knows what an edit is, but nobody has actually ever really seen an edit before because an edit doesn't exist
Well,
and it
as an
exists
editor, do you have any funny stories or just something you want to share that's interesting or
from the news.
from you? Yeah, your experience as an editor. Did you learn anything artistically from it? Just even if
Yes,
it's from practical standpoint.
yes, because I went to school for video, film video, and performance art at an art school. We learned, and Godard was my favorite filmmaker, right? Still is the black and whites. The black and whites are awesome. The editing in there is musical. I'm a musician. Everything fits. When I started editing for a TV station, which is the antithesis of editing at art school, we're editing on tape, and I would edit the entire 2 hour morning show, all the tapes, and each tape is a different slot. So I would edit about 60 things a day, from sports to human interest to crime stuff to fires, everything. I would cut it, and everything is slotted. So you have 4 or 5 hours when the show gets written between when it writes to when it airs. So a lot of times I'll be cutting the show as it's airing because it's a 2 hour show.
Well, that's
And
pressure,
it was
isn't it?
pressure, but I work good. But what I learned, which is just such a crucial thing when you're making art for a living, which is what I do now, done is better than perfect. That's what I learned the
Yeah.
most because it had to get on the air. There's the slot. They needed 30 seconds of video, and sometimes a person would come back from a fire, and I would look and I would be like, oh, I'd have to do the math. I'd like, it takes 20 seconds to inject the tape in the machine. There's pre-roll 5 seconds. I have room to make one edit. I don't have any room to make any edits because it's going on in a minute and a half. I would run it to the tape room. I'd cue it up and say, maybe it'll, and it didn't matter.
It's
Like,
done.
what mattered?
That's all
What mattered
everyone
was
wants to know when is it done? Oh, good.
yeah, and I think like you got a lot in music. A good example that everybody knows is Chinese Democracy, where yo, you spent 10 years making an album, maybe it's perfect, but the trend is long gone. Hair metal is dead, Axel. It's done. So yeah, the thing about art is there's all kinds of quote unquote flaws on a Joy Division record, but it's of its time. It came out and done is better than perfect. I would say all Joy Division is perfect, but the imperfections end up
Give it
adding
character.
to it. Yeah, so sometimes you just got to let your ego go and go done is better than perfect.
It's also
I
told
learned.
films. Yeah, it's actually really important because sometimes a lot of us are perfectionists and they don't get something out. That's why doing this podcast with a guest is so much okay. I know most guests don't care, but I care. I want to get it done and out. And
Yeah,
in the doing it, you're not going to get better at something unless you do it. Because I always thought I've been on a podcast, I've never been the main host, I've never done anything like that, but I'm not gonna get better at it unless I
so you do
just
it.
do it. Yeah. Sometimes when you look back at your old work, whether it's casual or very serious, you should be a little embarrassed, I think, in a cute way. Oh my God, I'm so
You
much
mean?
better now. You want to be
Yeah,
better
your
later,
growth.
but you got
I
to
mean, also
be the version of you in the present first before you can get better. You just got to do it. Keep doing it.
absolutely. I think in regard of perfection, it would be horrifying in a bad way if Manos, the Hands of Fate was it is perfect, but if they would have made it perfect, I would be like, "Don't touch that. Don't touch it.
Don't you
Don't
f
touch it.
don't
It's
you
perfect."
dare
Yeah,
touch that
I know,
doll.
right?
Don't you dare, it will be dark soon.
It's
The master
perfect.
would not approve.
It's perfect, but it's not perfect. It's a good example of done is better than perfect. They finished this movie on a bet. They have it's
Yeah, he's
great.
not an artist or at all. Yeah, I can make a movie. I can make a horror movie. I think it's from Playboy, that great article about this film that really goes a little judgy about saying some people are desert weirdos. But the idea that this guy, he'd have from Menace to the Hands of Fate, he'd have a limo keep circling. It's like other new
Oh,
people
the
being
block,
dropped off
yeah.
of the theater. Yeah. Unfortunately, the actor that played Torgo died before I think he saw the end of it.
I
That's
know.
sad.
It was
He's because
sad.
he's the best part of the whole movie for sure, like 100%. I
And
have the master's robe, by the way. I wore it in one of my an episode that's coming up.
oh my god.
I've
I
already
love it.
recorded it, but
I
yeah, it's from Fashion Brand Company, which is an ethical brand. It's great. I have the whole. It's the hands, because manos in Spanish means hands. So the
yeah,
movie
hands
is
of
hands
fate.
and hands of fate. It's fantastic.
I
Perfect.
I feel when we were kids, somebody had a video camera, you'd make a video, and then you'd watch it together, and that was very human. It wasn't capitalist driven, it wasn't driven by the ethic of Hollywood, the commodification of the human soul. It was just, "Hey, we got a video camera, you be the vampire, I'll be the victim, and we'll shoot it in the backyard." And then you watch
During the
it, and
day.
then yeah, and then you eat hot dogs. But that's how it feels when you watch Manos: The Hands of Fate. It feels like family, and it feels
It's
like just it
fun
feels
and earnest in its own way.
yeah, and just so human.
The thing about Man that reminds me of Man of Hands of Fate, this is a totally different movie, but like how Guy Ritchie's making a Roadhouse 2. I'm not against reboots, and stories are told over again all the time. I think it's a
Yeah,
sequel. I don't know. But the
I don't
point
know.
is, the reason why people love Roadhouse is because Roadhouse is not trying to be anything. Roadhouse is just Roadhouse. Like it is just that. Like it is just made to
Yeah,
be that movie. And
yeah, whatever that thing is. Yeah,
yeah, no, I mean, it's not like a great movie, and that's part of the charm
that's
of
great. Yeah,
like it's like it doesn't make sense that like the story about this but it's fun. And it's fun because the movie is just trying to be okay, this is a fun movie. We're treating it as a fun, we're having fun. But if you try to make a sequel or a reboot, which I could be wrong, I can't say anything about a
yeah.
movie
But
until I've
when are
seen
you
it.
wrong? When are you wrong about a reboot? Really? When has it been good?
Yeah, but the thing about if you're trying to make a movie, like now there's a pretense to the movie, right? You're not just making a movie that is what it is. You're making a movie that's honoring Roadhouse. So that
Yeah.
adds an extra difficulty to it. And that kind of makes it can't be ever be it could be a good movie. I can't judge a movie until I've seen it, so I'm not
Okay.
judging it.
I
Yeah,
bow and say
I
it's
have
not
to
good.
watch it, which you won't because there's no monsters in it. But I
No,
will
I cheat sometimes, but shh. I would say 80s Blob is an example of a movie that's on par with the remake.
Old teenagers, fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, but I can't think of. I guess some Godzilla movies are, but they're not remakes. They're like continuations.
They
I don't
become
know,
their own
man.
stories
I mean,
depending on the era.
Yeah, Rob Zombie really has let me really broken my trust in reboots of
Oh,
things.
this is a lot about when it comes to how violence appears in films and
Mm,
the tone they take or could take. In Shiver of the Vampires, we see death by nipple. It's not gory. It doesn't feel, and there's a moment where two women, the two sprites, go naked into the bed of the husband, which, to be fair, that's not really a consensual thing. It's like through this guy silly lens that's, wouldn't this be funny? And he just sends away. He's annoyed. And it's not, it's like, when you look at it, it's not good. That's not something that should happen. People that are sleeping shouldn't have naked people get into bed with, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
sure.
But it's the tone of the film doesn't really lead to the discomfort that definitely The Devil's Rejects has, where there's this sexual violence that is really uncomfortable. And that's actually the film where, whether you adhere to the term or not, which I do and I don't,
Torture porn.
torture porn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can't get down with it. I just can't. And other people can stick up for it, and other people can say, "Oh, it's blah blah blah," and I'm just here to say, it sucks. I don't like it. I don't like the experience. I don't like to be with a
it's
friend who.
drawn out too. It's not implied. It's a drawn out, uncomfortable. Like when the directors came out, cut came out, and one of the only scenes that was there for Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, it was, oh, we included the rape scene of a random mental patient by the guards. I'm like, I didn't need that.
Yeah, like,
I
how
did
does that advance
not.
the plot?
I
Just
did
because you
not.
wanna yeah, you wanna be an edgy rocker, so you're gonna traumatize your audience? I don't
I'm
know.
making an exploitation film. I'm daring and I can do it. Okay. That's not necessarily
Maybe.
impressive to me.
Might not
And
be the intent that might not be his intent, but that's how I feel. That's why I don't like his movies. I don't get it.
completely understandable. No, there's a lot of very vulnerable, like very vulnerable scenes in his films. Very, it's not comfortable to watch for
It's
sure.
not for
I
everybody,
definitely
it's
understand.
not for me, but a lot of people like it. I'm gonna watch Manos: The Hands of Fate, stuff like that. That's what I
Right
wanna see.
on.
You know, what's so great about Christopher Lee in the Hammer Dracula films is it's so dramatic, but really droll.
But
They're pretty innocent too. Those movies,
yeah, it's like they take it seriously, but they also, like John Carpenter, as you said, that they do know what the audience is gonna like at the same time. And
yeah, they're great.
they treat the genre seriously, but they also give it like a little, they're perfect at balancing it. Usually, the British, the other production company as well, those British horror films during that time. When you're watching Shiver of the Vampire, pretend you don't know anything really about Jean Rollin. Yeah, is do you when you watch this, do you think the director has the audience in mind? There's no wrong answers. Just
No,
feeling,
but
just vibes.
I don't think it is. I I feel like the director. I don't know a lot about Jean Rollin. I've only seen two of the movies, and I never really paid attention to read the backstory. But when I watch it, it just does feel like a vibe kind of thing. I
Like,
don't
he
really.
wants to
I
make
think
the visuals and he does it. Like, it's not in
yeah,
disregard to the audience, but it's more for him. Like, this
it's
podcast
making a
for me.
film. Yeah, the film is what matters. Not like I want them to know what the hell's going on.
I want
But who
them to
cares?
see what's going on.
Yeah. What do you think
About this movie? Uh,
about what? I mean, Jean Rollin has the audience in mind.
I think they're not his top priority, but I do think he does have them in mind, especially as he went along, because this was his 3rd film, and as he went along, I think he understood more so his audience, and it just, the way he visually depicts things fits so well with sexy vampire. His style really melds together with that. I think he leaned into it more so in his later years. That doesn't mean those are his best films, but I definitely think he wanted to create something beautiful and something that other people would think is beautiful. In terms to a film as a whole, not so much. Not so much. Again, the audience was laughing during that moment, but they were also applauding. So
It's
I like that
cool. I
attitude. I
mean,
love that attitude.
Yeah, I love it too. I'm glad I watched this film. It's cool. I watched it alone. I think it would have been more fun to watch with
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
else.
this is definitely a movie more fun watch it at least one other person. At
Mhm.
least, definitely
Yeah,
fun.
it could be like a dinner party movie. It's good. It's good, but it's not good.
Didn't get to have the conversation. Do you think her lungs were punctured, or do you think it's death by nipple? Were they poisoned? Like, how did this happen?
I don't think it's of any consequence because
It is not, but when
I
you're
don't think
having fun
Jean
with your
Rollin gives a
friends,
shit. I think she's died.
I'm calling it death by nipple. That's all that's my belief and my truth.
Yeah, that's what it is then.
That's
We're
what
in
it is.
your on your podcast, it's your world. That's what happened.
I don't think anything was intentional, really. It just happened, and they just wanted it to happen. It was cool. So, my last question: how did this film make you feel?
Okay, so here's the thing. You know, when we're talking about this genre,
Okay, okay.
I
I
am
love that there has to be a preface. I
it's
love
like
that. Like, how does make okay,
if
so
you put 10 chocolate cakes in front of me, which I love chocolate cake. If you put
Mhm,
10 chocolate cakes in front of me, I'm going to compare them relatively. I'm going to say that one's not so good, that one's great. But they're all great because they're all chocolate cakes. This
mhm,
is a vampire movie, a low budget grindhouse midnight vampire movie from a beautiful period of time. It's got grainy film. It has nudity, but it's campy. It's throwaway. It's a romp. Like it's top tier in terms of what I'm looking for in all movies. So
mhm.
when I tell you how it feel made me feel, of course, it made me feel joyful because I just love this time period. I love the mystery of psychedelia, and
You
I
never
love
know what the ending's gonna be because it's
yeah,
something you
yeah.
never predict.
In relative to other vampire movies of this time, which is I've seen more of this period and type of movie than any other period and type of movie that exists, it was fine.
It was
It was fine. It would be in the middle of the chocolate cakes.
in the middle. Yeah, it's not dry, but it's not moist enough, and it tastes sugary, like, it doesn't have enough
Yeah.
chocolate to sugar ratio, you know what I
Yeah, but
mean?
it's still a
Chocolate cake.
vampire movie from the '70s.
Yeah,
So,
like, I don't mind sheet cakes from the supermarket. It's not my
right.
favorite, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's still
I'll eat
cake.
it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
cake.
still cake,
I'm
yeah.
gonna eat it.
So this
So
is like the for me, top tier vampire movie from the '70s. Forget it, I'm here for it, I'm all here for it.
this is not a sheet cake. It's still made by the supermarket, but it's supposed to be the fancier one. That's how I would say this lands. You know what I mean? There's ooh, dark chocolate mixed with blah blah
Yeah,
blah, but
it's
it's
the
still made
arts.
the artsy supermarket cake. Yeah, and you like it. It's
That's
fine.
exactly
You
what
know
it
what
is.
to expect. You know what to expect too. So yeah.
It's the artsy French supermarket cake. It is a that's what this movie is. Absolutely. No
Mhm.
question.
Not the sheet cake, the fancy supermarket cake.
It's still supermarket. You gotta go. You gotta. It's still a supermarket movie.
Yeah, and I don't
It's
think
not
Jean
like
Rollin cares. It is a joy to hear him talking about this film because sometimes Jess Franco, I don't know if you've seen his films,
yeah,
some of them. He
yeah,
says some of my movies are shit. Some of them are
yeah.
good,
Some of
but
them
Jean,
are.
yeah, to be fair, but he's not wrong. But Jean Rollin even takes pride in his film. That's maybe this is one of his more famous films for sure. I think it has more to do with distribution, and it's colorful for sure, literally and
Oh
figuratively.
yeah, lighting a
Figuratively.
castle, lighting a whole castle. Come on.
And
I
this is
mean,
before Suspiria, where that really became popular with the projector. With I think
yeah,
back then, I think even Argento was using projectors for those colors as opposed to a color gel, where you put
yeah,
the gel against the light.
yeah,
Wild colors, which Bava started with blood and black lace. And Suspiria usually is the first film, even for people that aren't film enthusiasts. Like if they think of that time, even if
sure.
they haven't seen it, they know that Suspiria look.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
isn't a
yeah.
giallo, by the way.
Which comes from Hammer. What'd you say?
It's not a giallo, but that's a whole
No,
different
not at all.
discussion.
I
That's a
can't
whole
watch.
different discussion. Some people are very specific about it. I think genre is kind of irrelevant, but I love being divisive about it at the same time. Like, there's
Who
a
would
joy
say
in
that
it.
Suspiria is a giallo movie? Who
A
said that?
lot of people, there's a whole big debate about that's like being us in the slasher community where Freddy versus Jason is a controversial film to talk about with big slasher fans. That's a film that There's a lot of divisiveness about, and I love that kind of. I don't want to hate people. I don't want to put. I don't want to have a bad energy. But you know what? I won't have an online conversation about it. But I love seeing the divisiveness of. Okay, Jason's weakness isn't water. That's only in Freddy versus Jason where he's afraid of the water. It's not canon. Okay, so I love that. I really love that. I don't
Yeah.
agree or disagree. I'm like, why can't it? Doesn't matter. No, but I love that it's a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I
As long
mean,
as no one's being hurt, nothing that gets too serious. Just I love
people
it.
are so passionate about it that they're willing to go to war
That's
for.
it. It's the passion that I love. There's tens of people that might listen.
How you feel. I know how you feel.
I don't feel bad about it. I'm proud of myself. I got something done. I'm prepared. I'm pre-recorded. I have a lot of episodes. I'm prepared. They're going to get done. They're going to get out there. And that's like what I care about. And I get to talk to cool people about cool movies because I don't know a lot of people in my personal life that want to be bothered about talking about Shiver the Vampires for a long time. You know what I mean? Thank you so much, Marky, for coming on to my podcast and discussing Shiver the Vampires. Do you have any projects or where can people find you? Which I'll have all the links below, folks. You go look to find Mark. But tell me.
I want to say that you have a brilliant movie mind, and I'm so honored to be on a podcast with you. I hope that your podcast takes over the world, and I've told you that you're the next Elvira in my mind. Um,
Oh,
I know
I'm
that.
not aiming for that, but it's an
Oh God,
honor. We all know there's only one Elvira.
I
But
know.
it's an
Yeah,
honor to be put on the shelf there.
I know. I have an album coming out. It's a paranormal concept album called Magic Time. It comes out June 23rd
Mm.
on High Tension / Virgin Records. I have a card game that is out now. That
Really?
I have a card game out now, considering that this isn't going to air in a month.
Hmm.
I have a book coming out next year about love songs,
And you already
and
have a book out too.
I have a book out about what it's like to be a goth listening to happy music called The Happiness Playlist. And then I have 11 albums and a bunch of stuff that we can talk about that there's no need
And you're
to.
a great presenter on TikTok talking
Oh yeah,
about
and a TikTok
most
thing that I do.
all the links will be below. Yeah, so it's all good. Listeners, viewers, thank you for your time because you don't have a lot left.
Oh my God, it's the last summer on Earth.
Ah, the good. That's it. That's the end. Oof.
Cool.